When I was young, people used to laugh at me because they thought it was lame to see a black kid in love with trains. But that was then, the people respect me now. I turned my passion into a paycheck when I became a conductor.
When you levitate to a whole nother dimension, that's pure elevation.
Clear signal, high ball. You're not just watching, you riding the Throttle Notchers, where the rails run wild and the stories run deep. You're not just watching, you riding the Throttle Notchers, where the midnight train to Georgia wake you out of your sleep. Two diesels painted white and black with 100 stacks, shake the grounds of your house if you live right by the track. Engineer got his hands on the... What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is the train man himself coming to y'all with episode number 3 of Throttle Notchers. We got a special guest in the building, my man Troy Snead, former Norfolk Southern conductor / engineer, currently working for RJ Corman. How you doing today, brother?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm fine, man. It's good to have you on the show.
Likewise, glad to invite me here.
All right. So, as I was saying, this show is geared towards giving locomotive engineers and conductors their flowers and thanking them basically for their service on the railroad, as well as to sit back and listen to y'all backgrounds, your stories, your adventures, give the newcomers advice. So with that being said, man, we're going to start with your background, brother.
Oh, all right. Well, as you said, former conductor, engineer for Norfolk Southern for 11 years, highway truck driver, because you can call us an asphalt cowboy for about 3.5, and now currently a conductor for RJ Corman Railroad, and been here since the beginning of April this year.
All right, man. How does it feel, man, to be back in railroad?
It's like riding a bike. You need to be gone for a little while, but you get back into it. It's like nothing ever changed. It's like you get right back into the rhythm.
All right, man. Okay, so with that being said, man, you work for 2 different railroads. Did you initially start off as a Railfan?
Yes, I was a Railfan for since the day I could talk.
All right. So back when you was growing up, what did you Railfan? What company did you Railfan the most?
Most was CSX down here in Pennsylvania, around West Newton, PA, middle of absolute nowhere. And at that time, being in the early 90s, you still had chassis system paint schemes, locomotives running around, some Seaboard, CSX Gray Ghost, and then little here and there Norfolk Southern, early Norfolk Southern, prior to Conrail takeover. You had a lot of Conrail units still floating around back then, but mostly CSX and Norfolk Southern all around the Youghiogheny and Mon Valleys.
All right. Okay, so man, being that you live in Pennsylvania, I know y'all got a lot of short line railroads up there.
We have a few. You got the Wheeling and Lake Erie, which was part of the Pittsburgh and West Virginia, then Norfolk and Western, and then of course become part of Norfolk Southern back in 1982. And then the Wheeling and Lake Erie took that line over. That's over by Green Tree, PA, goes out towards Ohio and all areas like that. You got the Buffalo and Pittsburgh Railroad that runs on former B&O main lines. You have, we all call it the Bessemer and Lake Erie, which is still Canadian National, but you have them running iron ore. The Union Railroad still runs MP15s between the steel mills of Pittsburgh area. Of course, RJ Corman in the more central side of Pennsylvania. Western New York and Pennsylvania Railroad out of Olean, New York, that comes down on more towards the northern area of PA, down from Erie down towards the former oil fields of Oil City, PA, and across central PA around that area. If you're close towards the Altoona area, you got the Everett Railroad, which has a short line and also a very popular Taurus steam engine right around there. And it's pretty it's a nice little area of railroading if you want to get away from the big class ones.
All right, man. That definitely is correct. Because if I'm not mistaken, you guys have the red and the northern up there, right there, up there too.
Reading and Northern, that is more 4 hours east of where I am now. But you got the Reading and Northern, which everybody who has been on YouTube the last while, or even Facebook. You got the Reading T1 that's running around. Out that way. Haven't been out that way railfanning yet. Keyword yet. But that's on my to-do list this year.
And that's a beautiful locomotive too, man.
Beautiful.
It's in the Buffalo and Pittsburgh G&O property.
Yes, it is. That's another one of those orange and black railroads that have been taken over everywhere.
Well, they got a lot of railroads, man. Just not the United States, but overseas too.
You ain't lying. United States, Canada, Australia.
Sheesh. That's a lot, man. So, man, ultimately, what got you into the railroad industry? Like, what piqued your interest?
I have been wanting to be on the railroad since I was 1 year old. It was a goal I set back then was I'm going to work for the railroad. I'm going to become a locomotive engineer. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what anytime going to school, even from elementary all the way up. What do you want to be when you grow up? I'm going to work for the railroad. And that's how I've been. And I made it my life goal, and I made it happen.
Cool, man. Same here. It was my life goal to be a conductor / engineer since I've been a child. So, I accomplished that along with you. So, I definitely know your sentiments.
Yeah, it was a blessing when I got that phone call that I'm gonna be starting.
Okay. So for the people who don't know, you hired on in 2010, you say?
October, my first day in McDonough, Georgia, October 18th, 2010.
All right. So for everyone, I know me and JJ covered this subject matter in the previous episode of Throttle Notchers. For you to tell the general public, what was the hire process like with NS?
For me at that time, I'll back it up a little bit because I graduated high school in 2009, and at that time, that was the height of the recession. Nobody was hiring, and but I was still applying. Soon as I turned 18, October 1st of 2008, I turned 18 years old. That 2009, starting that spring, I started applying because I'll be graduating high school and everything like that. I was applying, denied. And I was applying for Norfolk Southern. I was applying to CSX at that time, denied. So had to do something. So I went to business school. Went to business school for graphic design and business management. And at the same time, I still kept my goal. I want to be a railroader, but I also can't, because just the way my brother and I were raised, you don't sit around and do nothing. You do something.
Right.
So, of course, I go into business school, and at this time, my brother's a senior in high school, and he goes into the Army. So he planned his life out that he was going to go into the military, and but let's go August 2010, because at that time as it was invite only then. And applying, constantly getting emails, being rejected. Well, one day I'm sitting in class, decide to check my email. Goes through Norfolk Southern, and it says you've been selected for an interview, and was going to go to the Holiday Inn not a Holiday Inn, but it was a Ramada Hotel in Green Tree, PA. If for anybody that doesn't know the area, Green Tree, PA is just north of downtown Pittsburgh, and so happened to be the same area that was the Norfolk Southern headquarters for the Pittsburgh division. And you were just right down from it. Anyway, so you had to dress business casual or business formal. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There was you dress you were about dressing to impress. That's what they wanted. Do you look professional? Granted, for me, it made my life easy. Since I was in business school, that was our dress code. Business casual or business formal. So I'm like, I already got clothes. Awesome. So I'm good to go. Same thing, but your other episode with JJ about having to take tests and stuff like that and go through this whole entire process. And that's what it was. The guys come in, and at that time there was a guy from Human Resources that they were doing the hiring process. And it was a train master for Shire Oaks, where I got hired out of. It was a train master for Shire Oaks, and he was slowly transforming into the training coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But his name was Jeff Boley. He was there telling us everything what was going on, what to expect in Shire Oaks, and it's cold. It's cold country down there. I'm from the Mon Valley. South of Pittsburgh, an hour south of Pittsburgh, and that's all we got. We are coal miners, we're railroaders, we're truck drivers. We are the blue collar of Pittsburgh. And I remember being in that conference room from that hotel. There had been about almost 40 of us that was in there that got invited. Once everything was said and done, there was only 10 of us that they selected to go for interviews.
See, ladies and gentlemen, I told y'all the interview process, the selection process, the interview process for the railroads back in the day, pre COVID, totally different ball game.
You had to impress. It was a real competition. You were going against the people that they invited. They already knew whoever invited, half of them were going to leave within the first 15, 20 minutes. And they knew the other, like another 25% were not going to make it past the testing process. And then the other group, they didn't make it just because they didn't like you. It could be that simple, as that saying that they have that resting bee face that some people say. If they see that in personality that you're coming off of, they won't pick you. If you give off the impression that you're bored, they won't pick you.
Right.
If you give off the impression that you're just doing it just to do it, they will not pick you.
Man, let me tell you, I was in Birmingham, Alabama for an interview with Norfolk Southern. My son's mother, who was pregnant at the time, ended up sending me a text message in the middle of the presentation. And I answered the text message. It didn't go out. It didn't sound off. It just all buzzed in my pocket or whatnot. It was on silent. Well, on vibrate, I should say. It buzzed in my pocket and I answered it. And one of the guys who was doing the presentation, he saw me and he pulled me outside. He was like, "Man, what's so important that you can't listen to this presentation?" I said, "My son's mother, she's pregnant, man. I'm trying to see what she got going on real quick and, send back, because, That's my child's mother right now. She's pregnant at this point in time. That
Yep.
joker kicked me out of the session.
Yep. That's what
that's
it used to be.
I got
That's
kicked
how it
out.
was back then. It was tough. It was tough. you literally had to let the rest of the world be ignored while you were there.
And that's
Nothing else
crazy.
mattered.
And I wanted to put emphasis on how you were saying that you applied and kept getting turned down, applied, email after email after email, that you kept applying and you kept getting turned down. It's a lot of people who was turned down, not just from Norfolk Southern, but you could apply for CSX, NS, UP, BNSF. If you did not have what they thought was the skill set to even want to work on the railroad, or as we all know, the railroad industry is also one of the industries where it's not what you know, but who you know.
Yep.
If they
If
felt
you
like you
don't,
was not
Woo.
material for the railroad, you was out. They would not invite you. And like you said, pretty much the first 15, 20 minutes of that interview session, when they are doing the presentation and they're having the yard masters and the train masters and whoever work locally come up there and do give a presentation or speak their opinion and let you know what the job is like. That was really the time period that they was weeding people out.
Yep. And that's what it was. It was not easy. And what helped me out at that time, I was in business school Monday through Friday. In the evenings, I was a unloader for UPS out of New Stanton, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So I was driving in my old busted 1995 Buick LeSabre, driving from downtown Pittsburgh all the way across to New Stanton, Pennsylvania, which at that time, that's about an hour drive. Going to work at UPS. I worked second shift. So, and at that time, you were only guaranteed 3.5 hours a day.
Right.
Did that Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I volunteered on a scenic road. It used to be named as the Fayette Central Road out of Uniontown.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally worked 7 days a week. And when I was in that interview, they asked what my background was. And I told them that this is what I do. I showed them where I go. And at that time, I'm showing them I'm coming from Pittsburgh to Union to New Stanton and back. And then going from New Stanton back to my hometown of West Newton, Pennsylvania. Then going from there on Friday evening to Saturday morning, going from there to Uniontown and back. And then from Sunday from West Newton to Uniontown, all the way back to Pittsburgh again. And they're looking at that going, you did all that. I'm like, yeah, because I don't like just sit around and do nothing.
So you
Even
sold
though
yourself in that interview.
in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there like, I don't know how I did it. I am exhausted. I am so tired. I am wore out. But I did it, and they asked what I did at UPS. And I told them that I was an unloader. And I told them how it was a very, very tight schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That you had time limits to get trailers unloaded because customers paid their prices for their packages. They want their packages when they tell them that they want them there.
Right.
So we had to get the stuff unloaded. And at that time, I was also a safety mentor, which is very good for the railroad. Granted, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in today's culture, but back then it was different. I told them about I was a safety mentor, and that was a very good one. And they asked me, why do you volunteer on a scenic railroad? Now, where I had to be like, do I be honest and tell them that I'm a big train buff, or do I tell them why I did it? Well, I told them, it seemed like a good idea to learn the railroad culture a little bit. Now, they left it at that.
So they didn't get no deeper than that point.
Nope, they didn't go deep, but they kind of left it alone. So we get done with the interview and everything like that. I leave, and now I'm heading back to my parents' house so I can get myself ready for work. On the way to work, the phone's ringing. Okay, look at it, Pittsburgh number. Okay, you look at it, answer the phone. The answer, it was a train master, Jeff Boley.
Mm.
He tells me, he's like, "Hey, just wanted to tell you right now, we're picking you." First interview I ever got after all this time of constantly being rejected. First interview that I got invited to, I'm getting hired.
That's because you sold yourself, man, off of the script that you are willing to travel to go to work, how tight your schedule was, and when they asked you about why do you volunteer at a scenic railroad, you could have easily said I'm a rail buff, but you basically said, man, I want to get the experience of learning what I'm getting myself into before I make the decision.
Yeah, and that was what that phone conversation with me and Jeff Boley talked about, and he brought that back up. He goes, "You don't have to lie. I know you're a buff, but what you've shown, you care. You are willing to put in the time. You're willing to put in the effort, and you're willing to put in the work, and that's what I'm looking for."
All right.
And so I about crashed my car because just the tears going down my face. I'm so excited because my life goal has come true. And first thing I did was call my grandma. And my grandma, she told me growing up, it's like, if you don't work for the railroad, I'm gonna smack you upside your head because I'm tired of hearing about trains. So I call her up after I got the phone and say, "Hey, Grammy, guess what?" She goes, "What?" "I got hired. I'll be working for the road." She was so excited. And so, go through the whole training process. You have to get the background check, get a physical, do all this stuff, right? Send them all these documents. So one day in October, I'm sitting in class, and the phone's ringing. Okay. Look at the phone, Jeff Boley. So I excuse myself out of class, go out in the hallway, and he goes, "Hey, anybody call you yet?" "No, about what?" Yeah, you start in Georgia next Monday." Wait, what?" So I got a week. I had a week to get myself together, to leave, to go to Atlanta, Georgia. And man, woo. And it was 2 months before I graduated business school. I would have graduated, but Philly Railroad said business schools. I told business school I'm out, and Road said I'll be there Monday, and I was there. I was there that Monday.
So since you were only like 2 months away from graduating, do you ever think about going back to finish it up?
No. I got to, which today marks 15 years since I graduated business school, because I was able to get I got my certificate in graphic design, so I'm a certified graphic designer. I just don't have an associate's degree in business management, which it's not hurting my feelings.
I understand.
But it taught me something. I can sit in front of a computer for hours because I want to, not because I have to.
All right. Hey, man, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Mr. Troy Snead there at the helm.
All right, man. So that was your hire process with Norfolk Southern. How was your experience down at McDonough?
That it was intimidating. It was a different culture than I know for sure, because it was different from when I was down there in 2010 as a conductor trainee versus 2018 as an engineer trainee. The culture completely shifted. 2010, we had you had to do morning calisthenics, and it didn't matter if it was rain or shine. You were out there doing your calisthenics. And at that time, the instructor that was doing that was a former drill instructor for the Marine Corps. And he treated us like we were in Marine Corps.
Do you think that helped a whole lot?
Yeah, because there was none of this there was none of this mentality of I'm just being here. There was structure. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care what you got going on in your personal life. We're here to do a job. We hired you to do a job. We're paying for this. You do what I say, when I say, how I say, and the only thing that I need to hear from y'all's mouth is yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And that's exactly how it was.
Man, to be honest with you, it needs to be that way because you have to take in consideration. We're training you to go out here to work with millions of pounds of steel, and this stuff is unforgiving.
You are the softest target.
Exactly.
So you need to understand, you need to take respect of what this stuff is. You're going to go home the same way you came in.
And they made sure you went home the same way you came in, or you was out the program.
They weren't playing like that, like the hang test. You're over there hanging, practice hanging from the rail car when you're using just a ladder outside. They didn't put you on a rail car. They kept it in a very controlled environment, and they pushed you. They made it hard. The harder you can, and they told us that we're teaching you the hardest way. You're going to learn an easier way when you get on the field. But if you can do it the hardest way, anybody can do it the easy way.
Definitely.
And you did it. And in my class, I had one person that failed. They gave him a chance, let him try it again, but he didn't make it.
So let me ask you this question: being that you learn how to hang on the rail car at McDonough or whatever facility that you go to, and considering that you learned it there, but when you're out there in the actual field, it may be done a totally different way. Do you think that the hang test is really needed?
Yes, because I've learned the way that you have to hang on a rail car in the hang test is how you may have to hang on certain rail cars because of the style. Good example is gondolas.
I agree with that.
I'm tall. I'm 6'3". A lot of grab irons I'm taller than, so it don't help. So I may be hanging on a rail car exactly like how I had to do the hang test on because I can't get my arm through the grab iron because it's just the way that it's designed. I can't do that. I can be down down in the seal step, which is the bottom rung on a rail car for people that don't know that. I'm in the seal step, but where the next grab iron is so high, I can't get my arm in there. So I got to hang with a fist and grab hold of that. I've done it for a mile. I've held on for 2 miles. It is not fun.
It really ain't. It's not fun, man.
Your arm
you can kind of make adjustments if you got like a ladder that sticks out a little more where you can wrap your arms around it. But for people who don't know, probably the two most hated rail cars to ride on: box cars and gondolas.
Yep. Woo. Which
Especially gondolas.
we don't have as many as we used to. But NS Top Guns, those have been turning into, you've been falling off the wayside a lot lately.
The Top Gun hoppers.
Yep, it's getting hot in here. But those Top Gun hoppers, those were notorious, especially even the Conrail Beth Gun hoppers. Yeah, it's a hopper car, but it's still gondola, and it's the same style. I can't stand them, and it's the same. Even the NS tub hoppers, as what we call them up here, we call them tubs. The Beth Gun hoppers and stuff like that. They're all the same style. They're not great to ride on if you're tall. And it never fails. As a conductor, you're if you got to ride a shove on one of them cars, it's probably going to be a while. It's a mile. You're riding that shove for.
Now I'm gonna tell you a car that I used to think intimidated me until I actually learned how to ride one. Those what the things is? The steel coil cars.
Oh yeah, Yeah, those could seem intimidating at first until you do it.
Right.
And you're really like, oh, okay, wait a minute. These are not that bad. I like these.
Because you got some people that stand on the foot still and just use the little grab bar that's right there.
Yep.
Or then you got people who will say, forget that. I'm gonna stand up on the platform.
Yep. We had a lot of Conrail coil shields up here, up in our way. The Conrail coil shield cars, the Norfolk Southern ones, and so back then, I mean, it really felt like overnight a lot of this stuff just disappeared. But
Man,
X-Penn Central ones, Norfolk and Western coil cars, um, I just, like I said, it literally felt like overnight. Some of the stuff I used to see all the time, and all of a sudden, I'm like, where'd it go? What happened to it?
man, you are not lying because I was just, saying one time before that, I started Railfan hard in 2010, 2011.
Right.
And just the effects of PSR. I'm here in Columbia, South Carolina. We lost a lot of trains to PSR. I know you being in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or up north, I should say, y'all lost a lot, but y'all didn't lose a lot.
Right.
But it's just some of the equipment and stuff that you were used to seeing is no longer around. Like, we're locomotive enthusiasts as rail fans. Not seeing standard cab dash nines no more. Standard cab dash eights, wide cab dash eights, SD60s, SD70s. Some of the mainstay locomotives that was what Norfolk Southern was well known for, they're no longer around. Especially
Yep.
high hoods as a collective.
Yeah, we had a good handful of high hoods on our side. Um, Us up here, we weren't. And this is going from 2010, even from going into engineer school in 2018. They don't consider us Norfolk Southern. They considered us. We were the Conrail guys.
Ah,
They did not like us. They always looked at us different, and it's still like that. It used to be a rolling joke up in my territory, was like Norfolk Southern is still fighting a civil war.
hmm.
That's what it felt. That's what it always felt like, because they do not like Conrail at all. They never liked us.
But who cares? You're
And
under the same banner.
yeah, and even if that wasn't what their intentions were, there you couldn't help but feel animosity, and it was tough. There was a lot of times, you would have, being in class, there was guys that just like lift their nose up at you because, oh, you're a Conrail guy. Not really. Last time I checked, my paycheck says Norfolk Southern. I'm not Conrail. Conrail was gone when I was 9 years old.
I know,
I am
right?
not Conrail. You know, yeah, we're Conrail territory. But if you want to get technical, I'm not Conrail either. This is Pennsylvania Railroad. This is where we came from. This is the original Pennsylvania Railroad.
Mm.
So we're not Conrail. We're not. If you want to use that line, we're PRR. We're PA boys. Yankees, as what some will say.
Okay, man. So what was like? So we've talked about your time at McDonough. Ultimately, you go back to your home territory. You start working and you start training, and you're marked up. Walk me through your first few months on the ground out there. Being marked up. Were you forced to a job, or were you on the escort board?
I was assigned right on as soon as I got through training, all the stuff like that, with all different assignments. Um, get marked up. I was rounding an extra board, but at this time, this is that it was a height of a hiring. It was not that they wanted people. It was the fact that the railroads needed people. We were busy at that time. You know, because how railroaders are now. They're how guys say they like being on the export because they sit at home and stuff like that. We didn't have a guarantee at that time. There was no such thing as a guarantee. There was no such thing as rest days. You know, your rest days was if you got your FRA start time, which is 6 consecutive starts in a row. And at that time, it was still your consecutive starts were calendar days, not within 24 hours. So anyway, I get marked up, and how the way the extra boards are, it shows on the screen what the extra board is eligible for, how many guys are allowed to be on this board at a time. I was on that board. It showed, I think if I remember, it was like 22 or 23 guys it was eligible for. There was only 3 of us. There was nobody. We didn't have enough employees. And it was what in railroad terms, turn and burn. As soon as your 12-hour rest was up, that phone's ringing again and you're going right back out. It was non-stop and it was chaotic. You didn't know what you were getting, but you knew you were working. You were tired. But man, coming from a college kid, dirt poor, eating one meal a day, being broke, to man, I'm tired, but when paycheck hit, I'm like, all right now.
Cool.
It was stressful. You were tired, but when you finally feel that you're no longer stressing about paying a bill, where am I going to get my next meal? Because my issue, a little foreshadowing, I don't like to ask for help. So you struggle. But when you finally are able to not be able to struggle, you felt there was a level of stress taken away from you.
Indeed, man. Indeed it is. So initially, you was assigned to the extra board. It was a force to a job.
Right. Yeah. There was no forced to job, and then so I was marked up. So that would have been April 2011. I was marked up as a conductor. Worked out of Shire Oaks Yard in El Rama, PA, which is about 45 minutes to an hour south of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
It's coal. We had local industry, stuff like that, but mostly all coal. By Thanksgiving of that year, I get a call from my union rep. Hey, Conway still needs people. Are you willing to go up to Conway to get qualified on the long pole, which at that time it was the Conway, PA to Harrisburg, PA run. And you want to get qualified on the long pole? I went, yeah, absolutely. So I had to be up there for a week. I had to do 3 or 4 runs right around there. Conway to Harrisburg. And the agreement was they will pay for your training, taking those runs, and you just have to stay at Conway for 30 days.
So basically a temporary transfer.
Yes. And I'm like, okay. And at that time, it was like hour and 15-minute drive. I still lived with my parents back then. So it's an hour and 15-minute drive to Conway. And at that time, it worked out nice. I wasn't even on the extra board over there. I was on the Conway Altoona pole. You did freight trains. And I worked that pole and I was only had to be there for a month. But I liked Conway, so I ended up staying there for 6. Stayed there for
Why
6
not?
months.
Why not make some more money?
Yep.
All right, brother. Engine school. What was that like?
That was fun. That I had a good time. Because it was a different mindset. Because at that time, I've already been, like I said, I got hired in 2010, got my letter to go to engine school in 2017. And the end of January 2018 is when I had to go down to McDonough, Georgia. And went down there. And, you're in a different mindset at that point. You've already been, like at the time, I've been there almost 8 years already at this point. I've seen it. I've done it. Just want to get it done. Now, again, different culture back then. I've been running a train since I was a conductor trainee. Yeah, so I've already done it. I've run trains across Conway to Harrisburg, all over the place. Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
So is this pre-camera days?
But yes, pre-camera days. Yeah, cameras just started coming in 2016 when the Tier 4 Gevos first came out. That's when those were the units that were built with cameras. So we still didn't have cameras in locomotives yet at that time, except for all the brand new ones, and then the new rebuilds, the C6Ms when they first started coming out, they got cameras, of course. The SD70 ACUs, they started doing that program. Those those got cameras, of course, but a lot of stuff, Dash 9s. Standard cab 70s, Dash 8s, the SD60Is, the 60Ms, SD40s. None of that. Those didn't have cameras.
As what people would say, the good old days.
Yes, you can say the good old days. You had stuff. We didn't have positive train control. We didn't have trip optimizer. We didn't have EMD leader. You ran the train. And guys taught me how to run. And even guys that didn't physically teach me how to run a train, they were looking at me like, come here, kid, and they had me stand next to them and stand behind them, and they're showing me, okay, this is how we do this. This is how we do that. And they're showing me how to do it. So it was a good time. And I was glad I'm blessed that I got hired in at the right time, because I got taught by guys that were original Penn Central guys. Penn Central, early Conrail, even from Shire Oaks, the Monongahela Railway. Those guys taught me a lot of stuff, how to be a real railroader.
Okay, coin the term real railroader. Tell everybody, what is a real railroader?
A real railroader, you are 5 to 6 steps ahead of your next move. You know how you look at a list, railroad term, because it depends on a region, but a cut sheet, your switch list, your drilling list, whatever anybody wants to call it. It may look as thick as a phone book, and you're like, all right, lace your boots up, make sure your radio is charged. If it's raining, make sure you get your rain gear, because it's going to be a long day or night, but we going to get this done. And you sit there, you get into you look at your list, you get into a rhythm, and you just start hammering out. You're just a boom, 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 boom. You're putting cars over here, putting cars over here. You're doing things that are making yard masters and train masters make their head spin because you are laser focused. And then they're calling you like, "How'd you wait? You're done? Yeah." Guys that the guys that taught me how to railroad, yeah, granted, a lot of them they were doing it because they wanted to go to the bar. But gotta get the work done first. All right, kid, we got to get this done. And they showed me how to drill, and we call it drilling. That's how we switch cars. Pull out a whole track of 50 cars, and you're trying to switch out 5, 6, 7 different industry cars in blocks, and you're boom, 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 and I look back now and I'm like, I don't know how in the world I did it, but I did it. You were tired at the end of the day, but you felt a level of accomplishment. You saw that thick list, and you're like, I got it. I'm done. It's over. It may have taken me 6 to 8 hours,
but it's done.
But it's done.
And man, that's always been my thing, working at the L&C Railroad, the short line I was at before I went to CSX. And even when I went to CSX, it always felt good that once you got that freight out of that short line down at that interchange, if you so happen to see the Norfolk Southern train pick up that freight, and where I live at, I'm right here by the NS line that serves that interchange. It does something to you when you see that train going down the rails carrying that same freight that you took to that interchange.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good to see that outbound CSX or the outbound Norfolk Southern train hauling the same freight that you just switched up in the yard.
Yep.
The same trains that you just built, the same trains that you switch and build in the yard that they turned around and built into one train and took it down the road. It feels good, like you said, it's a level of accomplishment, man.
Mm-hmm. And it was, man. It was, woo! I look at it because it was a sense of pride. That's what railroading was about. You took pride in what you do.
Yeah.
And it carried through all the way up. Even when I was a conductor, I was on a swing shift back then, 2016 and 17, when I got tired of being on the road. I wanted to be on the yard, be home every day. And I was working a local, more like a relief job, as you could say, because you literally did whatever they told you to. But I had Thursdays and Fridays off. Those were my assigned days off. But man, we did some stuff back in. Saturdays, because I worked. It was Saturday, Sunday. I was on duty at 7 a.m. And you knew Saturdays. You were switching. Mm-hmm. You're switching cars all day, putting away locals, and you knew you were going to get an ugly list. You knew it. You already knew it. But you get used to it. You just know what to look forward to. And me and the engineer I was with at that time, we were considered the dependable crew. Every railroader knows when they call you the dependable crew, what that means. But we'd hammer it out. We get it done. Yeah, it'll be 12-hour day, but we get it done because we knew on Sunday we're gonna have an easy day. We didn't have to do anything. We really didn't have to do anything on Sunday.
Set yourself up on the Thursday to have an easy Friday. Set yourself up on the Saturday to have an easy Sunday.
Yep, because we have a Thursday, Friday off because we weren't smart. Friday nights, me and an engineer, we would play airsoft. We'd play airsoft on Friday nights. So Saturday morning, we're sore. We're tired. But we did it. Um, but well, yeah, it was different time. But yeah, I know I'm rambling all everywhere. But um, we were railroading. So when it came to being going back to engine school again, we would go back to that. It's just going down there. It was to me, it was a cakewalk. I knew what I was doing. I was happy. I'm like, I did it. I'm going to be an engineer. And my my parents were super proud. They were so excited. Like, yeah, about time. But went down there and did the training. Turned out, anybody that's been through the conductor training, or the engineer training down in McDonough, Georgia, my name is on that board now because I got top notch, which meant I was a top student in my class.
Nah, dope work, man. Dope work. Congratulations on all that good stuff.
Thank you.
So, how many years did you do in this as a locomotive engineer before you decided to step away from the company?
So that would have been 2018. So I was doing that, and I left till 21. 4 years, 5 years, something like that. 4 or 5, I can't count. But yeah, from 2018 to 2021. So yeah.
Okay, man. So, what was the reason why you decided to step away from the railroad industry when you did?
The railroad industry, it was not what I liked. What I worked so hard to be part of. It easiest thing to ever say about it was pride costs money. When you care about your job, you care about doing things right. And then when you're trying to do things the right way and say that there's issues is that you found something and they want to write you up for delaying a train because they don't feel like dealing with it. That sucks.
Mm.
It sucks because at this time it's 2021, it's PSR, it COVID is like it doing its thing at this time. The railroad industry is not in a good light at this point. They're not doing good. Customers are upset because freight's not getting where it needs to be. Train masters and road foremen are trying to hound you for anything and everything that they can find. The culture, all of us that are there, we're running ragged. And like I said earlier about foreshadowing, not like calling for help. Because I was so stressed out, so miserable, I didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to share because the only ones that know what's going on are fellow coworkers.
And
But
then
we're doing
equally as stressed out.
we're just as stressed out. We're wore out. We're burnt out. So I self-medicated with alcohol. And I would drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. So at least at that point, for a little while, I can ignore what was going on. And it got me in a situation to where it was close to a Rule G violation. It was close, but I was willing to say, you know what? No, I I am I need to look myself in the mirror. I'm not going to um I'm not going to label myself as an alcoholic and just to be glad just to keep my job,
Mm.
because that's what the union guy told me. You love trains. You'll be all right. And I told him no. I am not an alcoholic. I did this because now I finally realized is I'm done lying to myself. I am miserable. How can I keep going and keep fighting to do my job right when I'm getting basically berated, yelled at, screamed at, talked down to every day I show up? It literally was like an abusive relationship.
Mm.
You are miserable. You want to leave. You want to give up. But then payday hits. Here's some money at you. Have a good day. And you're like, well, you know what? It's not that bad. But enough is enough. And I had to leave. You know, oh well, you're gonna be back in 9 months. I know, but I don't want to. I can't. I can't do it because I know it's going to kill me.
Mm.
That's literally how it felt. What it's going to kill me because I'm not happy. I'm so stressed out. I am miserable is an understatement, but because I love my job. I love being a railroader. That is who I am. My nickname in business school was Choo Choo because everybody knew what I wanted to do. And it hurt. It hurt. It used to be, I used to have joy when that phone rang when it was time to go to work. Yeah, those days I just like, really? Why is my phone ringing right now? But I was like, all right, cool. Getting called to work. Let's go. Let's go do this. To the point of you were saying every cuss word in the book every time the phone rang. You didn't want to. You were so miserable every time the phone rang.
Mm.
And it used to never be like that. I used to be excited to go to work. Granted, not every day because we're humans. Um, but you just get to the point of going into work feeling like, am I going to get written up or am I going to get fired today? What are they going to find what I did wrong today? That's what it felt like, and I couldn't do it no more. Some may say it's quitting, and others understand. And I became a truck driver, and at that and I went to TMC Transportation, got my CDL, was a flatbedder. And the funniest thing about that, about a year later, I was unloading in Nashville, Tennessee. I run into another employee that used to be an engineer for Norfolk Southern, who's also worked for TMC. Same exact story. Miserable. You're wore out. You are stressed out. You are going down a dark road, and you need to fix it. Yeah, me and him talked about it, and me and him exchanging phone numbers and stuff like that. It was the same thing. We were going through the same stuff. We needed a way, and it's a shame, but it's life.
I get it. I get it. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is part of the reason why I decided to do this series to get the raw and uncut truth from people who run these locomotives or are conductors. Because my thing is, you see the money that we make, you see the trucks, you see the house, you see the vacation, you see all that on Facebook. But what you don't see is the stress levels that a lot of these engineers and conductors go through.
The
The stress
silent
levels
battle.
of you know feeling like you can't even come to your job and do your job without, for example, MTOs hiding in the bushes trying to nail you for everything. And don't get me wrong, we have safety rules for a reason. It's called blood rules. Every rule that's in those rule books are meant to govern every movement as best way as possible to keep you safe.
Yep.
But they ain't said nothing in the rule book about MTOs, and I'm just saying the MTOs or train masters, as people call them, hide in the bushes, spying on you, making sure you're doing your job. They don't understand. That makes you nervous.
Because you're sitting in a siding with the window open on a nice day, but you don't have your glasses on. You're not even next to the window. You just had the window open, and you have your glasses up on your head, and next thing you know, you're getting written up for not having safety glasses on.
And
Like,
it feels. I honestly don't think that it is the MTOs that come up through the ranks. It's more so the ones that come straight out of college that get brainwashed by the railroad officials, and they're thinking, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna try to move up through the ranks. I'm gonna do what I got to do to, try to make a name for myself. And I'm just gonna mess with this guy right here. I'm gonna mess with this person right here. Especially if you're a newbie out there. We all know one thing for a fact: the newbies get messed with the most
yep.
because they fresh out of school. A lot of the rules haven't really been implemented into their mind good enough so they can know. Okay, this is good, this is not good, etc., etc. These are the guys that get targeted the most because they're the fresh ones. And if you're out of college and you know the book better than the guy that's the rules supposed to apply to, that's an easy win. That's an easy write up.
And that was, and what I noticed, like not all road foremen, train masters, everything were bad. I had some really good ones, but there was ones, they only mess with the guys that took pride in their job.
And to be
That's
honest with
who they
you,
mess.
that is the God honest truth. They gonna mess with you if you love what you do. They gonna mess with you
Yep.
when you take pride in your job. They ain't gonna
Because
bother
they
the
know they can
guys.
get under your skin. They know they can get to you because you strive to be good at what you do and try to do things the right way. They know they can mess with you.
Hmm. But they ain't gonna bother them guys that
And
mark off every day. They're not gonna bother the guys who mark off FMLA or mark off sick, family medical, who want to avoid working this train right here because he don't want to be in the yard. They ain't gonna mess with them guys. They gonna always mess with the ones that, like you say, take pride in their job. And with that being said, let me ask you this one question right quick. Don't mean to cut you off. And I told you I was gonna ask you this question when we talked earlier. Do you believe that railroaders who are rail fans are punished a little harsher based on the fact that they are rail fans?
yep, they are, because of, like I said, you care about your job. You care about being here. You care about doing it right. So those select few that that go out of their way to mess with those people, those who they go after, because they know they can get under your skin.
Hmm.
Because what happens when you, and it's, I hate to say it, but it's reality. If you get called out for doing something wrong at the beginning of the day. Soon as you walked in the door, hey, I need you coming back to my office, and you come in. There's a stupid write up for farting wrong. You know, whatever they can come up with that day. It's going to affect you the rest of the day. You're going to be distracted. Your mind's not going to be in the right place, and they can catch you doing something else because you are second guessing anything and everything that you do, and that's where you make your mistakes. And it could be something minimal as making a wrong cut. So you're setting a wrong set of cars out. So now you got to go back to do what you got to redo what you already did because you set the wrong block out, or other scenarios, which it happens to a lot of guys. It happened to me once, but it wasn't because of that. It was because of heat. You throw a switch wrong. You run through a switch. You're distracted. And that's what it was. My issue, I ran through a switch because I was distracted because it was hot. I was out in the August sun all day. I was but it's the same thing. Distractions. You are distracted. Granted, my issue, 20 minutes, switch was fixed, went back to doing my thing. And again, a different culture back then. I admitted I made a mistake. I was wrong. And it was a no harm, no foul kind of situation. It was hey, let's just not do it again.
Be a little more focused.
And guess what? Never made that mistake again.
Understandable.
Because the biggest thing, admitting your mistakes keeps you out of trouble for the most part.
A lot of times admitting your mistakes can get you in further trouble depending on who you're going up against.
You could. It could be ugly. And there's certain situations sometimes you deny until you're blue in the face. But when you're raised right, he's like, you know what? I know I did wrong. I gotta do what I gotta do.
Right.
I gotta take my lumps, and whatever happens, but at least I stayed true to myself. I got to look at myself in the mirror and at least know I admitted my mistakes.
Right.
And, but yeah, like I said, when you're going back to your question of do rail fans get affected, get picked on more, big time.
Okay, well,
because they can't. You as a rail fan care about your job. They know they can get under your skin. Certain managers know that, and they will use that to their advantage, and will hurt you.
And not only hurt you, but they feel like if they for example, if you get run off for 60 days, tossing out the person who cares about their job, it sets the tone and it sets the example for everybody else to see.
Yep, it does. They're using you as an example.
Exactly. So that being said, man, you went into trucking, then you returned to the railroad industry. RJ Corman. What was ultimately the decision to come back, and how is RJ Corman feeling you? I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. How they treat you?
Well, I was being a truck driver where I was with Kaiser Transport. That's why I got their shirt, because I love these guys. I love Kaiser, based out of Janesville, Wisconsin, and they are still my family. That was it was tough. It was hard working for Kaiser, but I loved every minute of it. Got my long hood Peterbilt, asphalt cowboy, running all 48 states. I've been in 3 provinces in Canada. I've hauled oversized loads. I've hauled military equipment. I've done it. I've done a lot of stuff and seen a lot of this country because of these guys, and I'm thankful for it. But I have a fiance, and she has twins, and she said it, and it took me a while, but it kicks in. A phone only goes so far.
Sheesh.
And at that time, I was gone on average, say 2 months at a time. I was gone. I wasn't home. So, and even when I did come home, I was home for maybe 4 days, and I'm gone. Back out again. That takes a toll on any relationship. So it was time to come home. I wasn't working for a local trucking company. I wasn't doing it. Because working for Kaiser, I was bushy. we were classy. Our trucks looked good. They were beautiful trucks and stuff like that. And so I knew work for a local trucking company. So I'm going to basically have to work till I drop because, anybody that, has paid attention the last decade, Social Security don't look pretty. It don't look good. So at that time, I realized, like, you know what? It's time to come home.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Broward. And I'm going to see, I had two options, either Buffalo and Pittsburgh, and then I had RJ Corman. I'm like, well, RJ Corman runs right past my house. All right, why not? And a couple buddies of mine that worked there, they said, oh, yeah, they're hiring. We really need you over here because, you are a railroader. So that's who we need over here. I'm like, all right. So I go ahead and apply. About a week and a half later, my phone's ringing. I'm in Southern California, getting the load picked up, and all of a sudden my phone's ringing and says Kentucky. Okay, what's this? And it's the boss for my yard. And he's like, hey, I talked to so and so who's been here for a while, and they speak highly of you and all this. And long story short, I get hired, and I started with RJ Corman April 7th of this year. And I've been there ever since. And it is a complete culture change compared to Norfolk Southern.
Mm.
Being here in Clearfield, PA, because RJ Corman is what you call it. We're a mom and pop railroad. Yeah, they got a lot of other properties and stuff like that. And get RJ Corman Railroad, RJ Corman switching, RJ Corman derailment, all this stuff. But this is a completely different. The railroad side, they're all like different companies underneath its own umbrella.
Right.
But RJ Corman Railroad, our side up here in Clearfield, we are tiny. There's only 10 of us, train crew wise. And I literally felt like it's like coming to like a little family gathering every time you come into work. Everybody knows everybody, from management to train crews to mechanical to maintenance department. Everybody knows everybody. We all get along with each other. And having the boss that I have up here, man, he's amazing. Which is the biggest thing that people forget. Respect goes a long way.
That's right. Respect taking places money can't.
And he looks at us as not as his subordinates. He looks at us as his peer, and he treats us with that respect. So when we have to do crazy things, crazy schedules and stuff like that, all right, we're good because he knows he's only doing it because he has to.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks. You got to go to work at 11 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning and those kind of crazy calls. It happens. None of us really want to. But when it comes to those calls, he's the one making it. Nobody else is making that call. So most cases, he's usually telling us well in advance, on average about 12 to 15 hours in advance what our call time is going to be. But if it has to be a 2-hour call, he's the one getting up and calling us. If we have to be in work and it's going to be a crazy schedule, he's making sure he is there too. So we're going, if you guys got to go through a rough time, I'm making sure I'm there with you. And that shows that you're not alone. And it makes you feel you can count on somebody. We can count on them. If we need you, we know you're going to be there. And man, does that go a long way.
I bet it feels different feeling that you are a member and not necessarily a number.
Right. And that's huge. Yeah, the pay is not as great as it could be, but the level of stress is so much lower that I actually am happy going into work. Some days suck, but that's everywhere. Anywhere you work, you're not going to be happy every single day. But the level of good days outweighs those bad days.
So with that being said, when you think hindsight towards the NS and your time with the NS compared to your time with RJ Corman, do you wish you would have went to RJ Corman before you went to NS? Or do you think it happened the way it was supposed to?
I believe this happened the way that it needed to. My mom said it best when I went through that whole time, that dark period of in 2021, and then I became a truck driver. My mom said it best. You needed to push. You were miserable. You were afraid to make a step, take that next step into what you needed to do. And I needed it. It was a blessing in disguise. I'm grateful for my time at Norfolk Southern because I was able to I was taught, I would say, by the best, by the guys that were the real railroaders, as from the good old days. The guys that when railroads still had cabooses, these were the guys that taught me how to railroad. But it was a mindset that I carried through all the way through my trucking career, and a mindset that carried me back into the railroad again. So it worked out in my favor to where even my boss, when I was a trainee at RJ Corman, he looks at me and goes, I don't even know why I even have you as a trainee. You already know what you're doing. You're just here because it's a technicality. And it was nice. I'm just going. Even the guys that were my trainers, they just let me do my thing. They taught, and they was like, okay, this is where the tracks were at. Because that's literally what it felt like. I was just learning a new territory. Because the railroading is railroading.
No matter how you put it.
Yep.
All right, man. So then we come to the part of the interview where you get to tell us some stories about your adventures. as a engineer or conductor. So if you don't mind, give me 2 stories from the NS and 2 stories from RJ Corman so far. Some of your more memorable runs from both companies.
Well, first one, Conductor. This was a good one. So I was still fairly fresh Conductor, marked up. I was at the hotel. So this would have been June of 2011. Get a phone, get a work call. And the crew caller's calling and said, "Hey, you qualified to Conway?" Yeah. And he goes, "All right, I got a NS 615 on duty at whatever, I forget what time it was sometime in the morning." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I look at my computer, see what it was. And looked at the con, says empty PPLX coal train. Then I look at the engines. NS SD60i 6718, NS SD60i 6723. At that time was the last 2 SD60is that were still in Conrail blue. And they were back to back. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. No way. The inner foamer in me was going nuts. I'm like, yes, okay. Man, we got our picture taken everywhere across that line.
Do you happen to have any pictures of that run yourself?
I do have a couple pictures on my Facebook. One picture was from a guy, Freddie Shook. He took a picture of us, and I look back at that picture now, and both those engines are gone. Majority of those they were the old steel 3-bay hopper cars. A lot of those are scrapped, or they became a couple of them been part of the Reading and Northern Railroad now. The power plant that train used to go to doesn't get coal anymore.
Sheesh.
And I just looked back and went, wow, how things were. But God, I know you said 2. I have one more story that's scary.
Shoot it to us, man. Let us know.
Another PPLX train. 3 60Is on the head end. This was about 2013. We got going eastbound, 130 cars, 3 SD60Is on the head end. Pulling up to Conemaugh, PA, we're going to get a helper set. At that time, the alternate helpers were the SD40Es, the 6300s. That was the designated helpers. They told us we're going to put one helper set with just 2 units on the rear end. Another helper set's going to follow you just in case. We're like, really? Why don't we just tack them on? Just tack them on. If they're going to follow us anyway, just tack them on. No, they're just going to follow. Okay, whatever. We start rolling. Start cresting the Allegheny Mountain. It's at this time. It's April. I think it's like late April, early May. It's not cold. It's in the 50s. It's comfortable. Early morning because we were up all night. Cresting the hill, and I'm just listening. Hear the engineer throttle off, going to dynamic brake. Sets first service, which is about 7 to 8 pound brake reduction. And I hear him put another pound on. When you know your territory, it's a little early. Right. It's a little early to be add more air to the train. I'm like, all right. But the one thing you never want to hear from your conductor to ever hear from your engineer. Uh-oh.
Your antennas.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. I sit up in my chair. Turn around, look at him, went, "What do you mean, uh-oh? Well, I don't like uh-oh." He goes, it's not slowing down. So then I'm looking at the screen on the Conrail units. You had a screen on the conductor side as well, and you can see what the engineer sees. I'm looking at the accelerometer. We're doing 13 mile an hour. The accelerometer is saying plus 30. What? Time out. Time out. Holy cow! I'm sitting there, and he puts more air on. He puts more air on. We had an old school helper. He was on the back. Goes, don't put more air on. It's going to be all right. It's going to settle down. It's going to settle down. We hit a 30 mile an hour curve at 37 mile an hour downhill when he should be doing 15. So we're over double what we should be doing. Same area is called Bennington Curve is what we went in through. If anybody goes on Google, you can look up the Red Arrow wreck from 1947. That's where that train wrecked. We're going through this curve. I am sweating bullets. I am a nervous wreck. I am terrified. And it's like within when I was at 246, about 245 and a half, this thing sits down and it's like someone threw the anchor out. And it dies. So now we're in notch 8, dragging the sucker down the hill. We stall out because you have too much air on. So we're gonna tie the train down and have to reset everything. And the helper chimes back in. Hey, keep your conductor on the head end. I got an idea. That other set that was following ties on to the rear. All right, we got all 4 of ours online. You got your 3. Let's try to get this thing moving. We were in notch 8, downgrade, trying to pull this train down the mountain. You could not see from the 3rd car back because there was so much smoke.
I know you were up there hollering.
Woo! We looked at it, and we get down to the bottom of the hill and saving sound. Everything's all said and done, and waiting for a cab for a ride to the hotel. And we see that engineer that was our helper, and we looked and what happened? He goes, they just didn't warm up. It's okay. Dude, we were sweating bullets up here. We were terrified. But this guy, old Penn Central guy, he's used to so much worse. It was nothing for him.
He was back there chilling.
He was going for a ride, but man, we were scared as all get out.
Man, when you say both of those sets, both of those trains that you just mentioned, you said SD60Is. You sound like coal trains that was either going or coming from the Nittany and Bald Eagle.
That one was a York Haven train. The Nittany and Bald Eagle ones was the Strawberry Ridge trains, 534 and 536 and 410. Those were the coal trains. The NS 534 and 536 came out of the Loveridge mine down in West Virginia, or Blacksville mine. Sometimes it would go to Shire Oaks once, or not Shire Oaks, but the Bailey mine once in a while. But those would go to Nittany Bald Eagle. Then you had 538 and 614. Those were York Haven trains, but they're all PPLX, the Pennsylvania Power and Electric trains.
Okay. Give me an RJ Corman store.
RJ Corman. Well, the first day on property we derailed.
Yeah, hell of a story to tell the first time.
It was our last move. We put a couple cars in on the track. We come out and we're riding the platform on the XBN, because we have XBN SD40-2s. 2 NX NS SD70Ms, but mostly 40s. Pulling off of one of our tracks. All of a sudden, it just goes bloop. Huh? We're off the track. Uh-oh. So the guy I'm with, he calls our boss on the radio and goes, "So you might want to come out here." He comes out, he looks and goes, "Yeah, you're off the track." And he looks at me, he goes, "How you like that for your first day?"
Cool, man. Cool. You living the life on the railroad, man.
I got one bonus story for you.
Shoot.
April 2021. I hit a semi truck. Semi truck full of bricks. Granted, nobody was hurt. Everything's fine. The truck driver need a new pair of pants. But we hit that, and we're waiting for all our people to show up. My conductor already went back. Yeah, made sure the driver was okay and all the stuff like that. We're just waiting. Well, and this was my parents' 30th anniversary. So I call my mom, let her know I'm okay. Before she sees it on the news and all this stuff like that, and it just let you know what's going on. And we're all right. And although my dad was still alive then, and my mom's phone was on speaker, so he's listening to it. And so when we hit a brake truck and stuff like that, and they got bricks all over across the windshield of the locomotive and all that. And the thing that makes me laugh the most, and it brings me joy today, is when I'm telling them that we hit the brake truck, my dad starts laughing in the background and goes, "I guess the big bad wolf brought a freight train." I'm like, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Got you caught on to that.
There's no huffing or puffing. I'm like, here I come. I just run your house over.
All right. Okay, man. So this is the part of the show where we allow our guests to give back and give advice to the newcomers coming in the industry and the future generations of railroaders. What advice could you give those who are seeking to work on the railroad, those who are entering the railroad, and quite possibly rail fans who may be watching this video? What are some things that they can do to, make themselves more desirable employee as far as interviews?
What I can say is you have to come in with open mindset. This is not a basic 9 to 5 job. You're not going to be home every weekend. You're not going to be home every holiday. You're not going to be home for any kind of you want to be out with your friends and all this stuff like that. This is the cliche that we all hear. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle. They're not lying. Because the railroad is a 24/7, 365 operation. This country does not care about your feelings, about what you got in your personal life. It's going to be hard. But on that same note, early on in the career, yeah, it's going to be tough because you're low man on the totem pole. You're not going to be able to get a lot of those special times off, but you will. I went through it. A lot of guys before me went through it. But you got your time. You will be able to have those days off when you want to take them off. Now, make yourself more desirable. I honestly don't know how it is these days because it's been forever. Because RJ Corman's hiring process was a lot different than Norfolk Southern, CSX, and all stuff like that. But come in like you're ready to work. Come in like you are ready to take on a challenge. Don't come in to it as a whatever. I'm just here to do a job. Who cares? That's not how this is going to be. You are not going to make it. I'm not even going to candy coat it. It is you will not make it if that's the mindset you're going to carry. For you, the rail fans, understand this is a job first. This is not a vacation. We are glad to we are glad to have people like that to actually care. It is good because I can speak from my time for Norfolk Southern. I worked with a conductor that was a big, huge rail fan. And let me tell you, I'm a rail fan too, but at 6 o'clock in the morning on my Monday after I've been off for a couple of days, I do not care about a train. I am not happy. I am grumpy. My coffee hasn't gotten my system yet. Where's my engines? Where are they at? I don't care what kind of train I got. Where's my stuff? So I can go get on my engines and I can enjoy my coffee. That's what I care about. Oh, don't be like some of these kids. Oh man, you got this SD40-2 and I got this, I got that. That will piss off guys faster than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do your job first. There's nothing wrong with being excited about your stuff, about what you're doing. But there's a time and place for it. 2 o'clock in the morning, not one of them. That is not one of them. And you will understand that when that nostalgia finally wears off and realize, man, I'm tired. You know, you and your old lady been out all night because you finally had a date night and was able to enjoy your time with each other. And then, y'all trying to snuggle and lay down at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And, old lady's trying to lean over and give you a kiss and the phone rings. And you're like, you got to be kidding me.
Man, I give people that analogy all the time. It can be 2 o'clock in the morning, and you can, you know what? And 2:15, we need you there at 4:15.
Yep. Or it could be, us that got kids. You sit there, you've been with your kids all day because they've been sick. They were home from school or whatever's going on. You've been up with them all day long, the puking and the pooping everywhere and doing this and doing that and, the crying. And all you want to do is just let them go to, you finally can go to bed. You put them to bed and it's like, oh, I can breathe. Ring. No.
Let's
Like,
not forget about the times that you done promise your child that you will be able to go to a game or something and do it. You like 2 or 3 men down on the extra board on a Friday night, and you
I'm
think
good. I'm good. Ring. What? Wait. What? Hold up.
you thinking that you about to get that Friday night off, be able to pop that beer open and have fun and whatnot, and you get that phone call because the person that was first out the marked off, and now the other two don't want to go to work. Guess who got to come to work now?
Woo! You are cussing them a
Ow.
storm on your way to and from work. And
And for those of you who don't know, depending on the railroad that you work at, if you drop your turn and take yourself to the bottom of the extra board, or if you mark off, depending on your agreement with your extra board, you lose a day or you lose your guarantee completely.
yep, and you know what? And that day when you're talking about being off on that Friday was going to be your rest days because that's how the railroad is nowadays. You got rest days on the extra board. You were going to have Saturday, Sunday off. You're like, cool, I got this. This is going to be. I'm gonna have a good time. And you get that phone call at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday, and you're going out of town. You got to be kidding.
You got to be kidding me. All right, so with that being said, brother, it's picture perfect run. As I told you earlier, you get to pick your locomotive set, the type of train, the subdivision, which means you can pick any railroad subdivision that you're aware of, kind of weather, time of day, and location and all that good stuff. What is your picture perfect run?
Let's go with, we're going to go, we can go with the late 90s. We on late 90s on this. We're throwing back. And yeah, me and Norfolk Southern, I've been, my railroad, we were a roller coaster, the Pittsburgh line and stuff like that, but I don't want to touch that one. I want the former New York Central Lake Shoreline out of Buffalo, New York, running west towards Cleveland, Ohio, the water level route.
All right.
Give me a pair of CSX AC 6000s because that is my favorite locomotive. I love AC 6000s. I'm a big GE guy. I love GE, but give me a pair of AC 6000s. Give me a mail train. Give me them doubles. Give me no double stacks. I just want trailers on flat car, the old school trailer train.
All right. Old school intermodal.
6 o'clock in the morning, sun's just coming up on a winter's morning, and you got that beautiful sunrise, and I'm out here, got the clear signals, and I'm here over here. I'm gonna throw a trucking term, grabbing gears.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back in your mirror, and you just see this cloud of just snow. The snow is flying everywhere. You're running at 60, 70 mile an hour, and you got this train at track speed, blowing for all the crossings. That hum that your AC traction motors give off. And you're just listening to it, and it's like music to my ears. That's my perfect run. I know you Southern boys ain't about that snow. I hate snow too, even though I'm used to it. I still hate the snow. I hate the cold, but inside the cab, I'll give you a song that an old engineer taught me. When the weather outside is frightful, in the cab, it's so delightful. The conductor's on the ground, don't you know? So let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Get y'all, man. Man, I don't have plenty of engineers tell us on a rainy day. Nice day to be a damn engineer. Good day
It's
to be
sunny
an
and
engineer.
75 in here. I did it, and I used to do it too. I did it as an engineer because I've been there. I was a ground pounder. I was in it in the snow, in the cold, in the rain. Been out in it. So when I got in that cab, I'm like, the conductor's over here freezing. I'm like, man, I'm in a t-shirt. Got the window open. I'm all comfortable up here. I'm getting hot. Or the summertime, I got a hoodie on because the AC is cold. He's over here got drenched in sweat and everything, and I'm like, man, I'm getting cold up here.
Man, you don't earn your seat in that. You don't earn that seat, man. You don't earn your time in that seat. You don't put your time on the ground. Now it's time for you to sit up there and look high and sit high and just roll the rails, man.
Yep. But everybody will get it. You will get your time. Just as a new guy coming in, just come in, learn as much as you can. Try to learn. Don't get sucked into the Debbie Downers. Do not let those people affect you. Because there's going to be days. Not going to lie, it's going to suck. That's reality. Those days are going to be tough. There's going to be days you're going to be sitting there looking at yourself in the mirror. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? This job sucks. Or why am I working this assignment? I should have just marked off. You're going to have those days. I'm not even going to lie to you. You're going to have those days. But understand that this is a career. Not every day is going to suck. Not every day is going to be perfect. But when you get those perfect days, that perfect, like we just said, that perfect run, you're going to be like, this is pretty cool. That early morning, watching that sunrise as you're running trackside. seeing that little kid wait for a school bus or whatever, just waving. You open the window and you wave to them and see that smile on their face. That's the stuff I enjoyed, from being a railroader to being a truck driver, seeing people smiling, because I look back, that was me one day. I was doing it. When I was trucking, I'm sitting there going like this when I was a kid, and now I'm the one driving the truck. I'm the one giving the kids the horn, running the trains, people out there waving. I open the window and I wave people, and to just see how happy people are and realize that not everybody hates their life. Not every day, not everybody's like, you know what, this sucks and stuff like that. But sometimes, even when I was during that my dark time at NS, you don't know what's going on with somebody in somebody's world. You don't know that kid that's trackside could be going through something, and them going trackside is the one thing that's making them joy. That is the one thing that's making it that can be give that kid a smile that they may have not seen in a while. So it doesn't hurt. Blow the horn, wave to somebody, say hello.
Be human.
Yes. And you do that, and sometimes, you know what? It's going to be okay. But the railroad is tough. The railroad industry is tough. It is hard, but it can be very rewarding. There's going to be bullcrap that you got to deal with, but that's everywhere. But if you want to be, it's a very fruitful career. Being able to buy your toys, like people see on Facebook, you got the toys and stuff like that. Yeah, you can do that. You'll be able to do that, but you got to deal with some stuff. It's gonna be hard, but don't get sucked into the ones that are miserable. Don't get sucked in the ones that constantly hate their life. Do not allow them to take your happiness away. That is the biggest advice I can ever give anybody that coming into. Do not become a follower. Be a leader.
And with that being said, man, there's another message I want to give out to the rail fans out here. And even for the rail fans that work on the railroad, that work around people who are grumpy. Just because their reason for coming to work isn't the same reason that you choose to come to work, it doesn't make it wrong, nor does it make it weird. Because I, as a rail fan, I enjoy my job a lot more than other people who was working on the railroad alongside me when I was out there. I enjoyed my job. I've had a lot of people say, we kind of think that was weird that you would get off the train like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning after switching the yard for 12 hours. And instead of going straight to the house, you went across to Norfolk Southern and watched their train come out of Columbia to go darting towards Charleston. To me, it's nothing like watching a night train. A train running in the middle of the night, especially intermodal, is nothing like it. But that's besides the point. The point of what I'm saying is, just because we love trains, it don't make us weird. We're human just like anybody else. We just might have a deeper love and appreciation for something that everybody else takes for granted just because they get a paycheck out of it.
Yep, it's tough, and that's the thing. We all went through stuff growing up, but you got to know it's not worth it. You may not like it. I don't care. I do. So then we're good. I'm gonna do me. I ain't gonna worry about it. I know what I like. You know what you like.
That's right.
I mess with you about the stuff that you're all into. I ain't gonna mess. Don't mess with me about the stuff I'm into.
That's right.
If we can't have a civil conversation, then there's no reason to be talking then.
Definitely. With that being said, man, one of the mantras of Throttle Notchers, we love trains. That don't mean we weird.
Nope. Well, I'm weird.
I mean, you know what I'm trying to say, man. You know, everybody's unique. They have their own uniqueness and whatnot. But we're talking about weird as in derogatory.
No, you know, we the folks that love trains have a higher respect for those that came before us.
That part, we definitely do. Especially when they was doing a lot of stuff that we're doing now without radio or computer communication.
They have made our lives so much easier, in some cases harder, but a lot easier. They went through stuff that we didn't have to.
To make it easier for us.
And I look back to it and I look at it in my mind in my area, you know, I'm the only black railroader in my terminal.
Mm.
The only one. And I'll say this little thing for the young black kids in the community. You don't have to be the stereotype that some people may want us to be. You don't be afraid to be yourself. Do not fall victim to what society expects out of you. Your biggest strength is to prove them wrong.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my boy Troy Snead, former Norfolk Southern conductor, engineer, currently working at RJ Corman. For anybody who wants to get in contact with you, man, let them know your handles. Where you at? Where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube as They Call Me Choo Choo, as well as my new channel, Choo Choo Gaming 10 on YouTube. And I'm over here on TikTok. They Call Me Choo Choo.
All right, my man. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Troy.
Yeah, I'm glad for having me on here.
And maybe we got to do it again sometime in the future.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about that.
All right, my man. I appreciate you for coming on Throttle Notchers, episode number 3 with Mr. Troy Snead. We up out of here, y'all.
Peace.
And again, this is Throttle Notchers. You don't just watch us, you ride with the Throttle Notchers. Y'all have a good night.